And that's the bottom line.
And welcome to the Asylum Wrestling Podcast, listeners. We actually only had a 1-week break in between shows this time. I'm here live, as always, with our great producer, Nate. And, of course, we have our wonderful host here with us. We have the Magic Man.
What is up, everybody? Good morning, good evening, good night, whatever time you are listening to this. As always, we appreciate you being in with us. Guys, we got some great, exciting news. We got some awesome stories. We got some FIG stuff coming up. You never might even be a winner announcement in here. Heck, you might even hear how many times Gold won this week. Spoiler alert, it's every time. But anyways, thank you guys. As always, we appreciate you. And guys, stay tuned because this is going to be a good one.
And we have the great Powerball man himself, Nick Francis, with us.
What is up, Asylum Podcast listeners? Hope you're having a great day wherever you're listening from. What is up, David, John, and Nate? Hope you guys are doing great. I'm excited to be chatting with you guys. Look forward to what we got in store here in the show. I just got done looking at I think for the 100th time, I watched Frozen with my little girl, so I am pumped up and ready for this episode, so I am excited.
Nick, just let it go, man. Just let it go.
Yes.
Yes, later on, we're all going to be karaokeing that song for the listeners.
And spoiler alert, we're on top of hearing about how Gold has won and always wins, we're going to get to hear how many takers that Magic might have been shipped this week.
We are going to hear that.
Is it 54? Is he on 60 already?
We're going to have to stay tuned to find out.
We have a jam-packed show for you as I'm watching a guy bust open an earthquake package, which is making me cringe. But anyways.
Good memory, Dustin.
Yeah, and he's busting open a mock earthquake right now. Not just a crappy earthquake, but a mock one. Oh, my God. Okay, anyways. Back to the show. Tonight we have a jam-packed show for everybody. We have, we're going to go over, of course, our news and notes, some good stuff coming out. Toy Fair next week. I hope everyone's excited for that. Some big news for the Asylum group that we're going to be going to an actual expo. We're going to discuss that. We're going to talk about some of our mail days that we had this week, and we're also going to actually go over what we feel is not only our favorite WrestleMania or best, and our worst WrestleMania that we feel, in our opinions. So to start the show out tonight, we're going to go ahead and pass it off to Mr. Magic himself so he can kind of go over whatever news and notes that he might have.
All right, guys. So as we all know, the newest edition of the Network Spotlight is out there hitting the shelves. We have some follow-up news with that. The Network Spotlight series has been canceled or possibly ended. There's some contradicting rumors out there that say, hey, we only planned it to go this far, but even if I hear that, I'm still going to think it's canceled. What they have told us is they have a new and exciting line coming up in its place. We don't know what that line is, but they have also verified it is not retros. Sorry, everyone. I was bummed to hear that as well. So when I think of this, guys, and I want to get y'all's opinion too, but these network spotlights have been, I don't even know if you can say hit or miss. There's a couple cool ones, but the majority of them that I remember are basically have kind of been shelf warmers. How about y'all? What do y'all think?
I can't find a Wendy Richter to save my life, but I was highly disappointed that they brought the Matt Hardy out in a single pack instead of with Bray in that giant lawnmower scene package they were supposed to. But I think the problem is they kind of just re-released a ton of characters that were already out in other elites that were a little bit better versions. I think the head scan on the Diesel was terrible compared to the other two Diesels that we had already gotten. I think Toys R Us had it first. So the network spotlight kind of started there. The Vince McMahon was an amazing figure and is actually pretty rare now. But overall, you're right. I agree. That series wasn't. I mean, it started at Toys R Us, ended up becoming a Target exclusive. Asuka is a really nice figure, but we already gotten the NXT one and her regular Elite one, so people weren't really jumping all over it. I think the Jinder Mahal was just another. Hey, let's just get out another Mahal. I mean, he had already been released with the ring, but I agree with you on that one. But I am ecstatic for that Wendy Richter. But I haven't been able to find her, so hopefully I get her before they discontinue them.
Yeah, I'm with you there too, Gold. I have yet to see that series in my area, actually.
Yeah, I haven't seen it in mine, and it's crazy. The last series that come out, it hit my target. The complete series hit it one time, and then after that, it's like they got a whole case of Jinder Mahals. I don't understand it because I'd go there, and it'd be like 8 Jinder Mahals on the peg, and no Diesels, no Asuka, and what was the other one? Rey Mysterio, I believe.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Yeah. So
Yeah,
it was just
my
I
target
was going to say it was
restocked
just so odd how they've done it. I don't quite understand, but anyways, that's a distribution problem. So
Yeah, I was saying, I think my Target restocked that series probably 5 or 6 times, no joke. So I don't know if that causes a delay on the other guys, because I think they just see elites up there and they're not sending other ones. But kind of a tie-in, guys. Matt Hardy is in this latest one, and there's little news and rumors going rampant on him right now. Not figure related, but we all saw Randy Orton take him out injury-wise, and then of course all the rumors went crazy. Oh, he's going to AEW. He's going to be the Exalted One. And then next thing we know, he's scheduled to be back on Raw. What do y'all think about this, guys?
I think what happened is that they saw the ratings spike, and it was the highest rated segment on the entire show. And they decided that, hey, we're going to piggyback on this until he's gone, because he's got 2.5 weeks, because he ends March 1st. So that's when his contract expires. I think they didn't expect it to happen as good as it did and be as high rated as it was. And it kind of brought back a little of that ruthless aggression era, because basically Matt was kind of discussing his issues with Edge in the past, and how Edge stole Lita from him, and they brought it into storyline. But nonetheless, I think they were surprised at how highly rated it was. But I also think it's kind of ridiculous that, though, he took a concerto and then he's back in a week, whereas normally guys who take that maneuver are out a few weeks at least. And Edge for a bit, and I understand they can be like, well, Edge's neck and da 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 da, but I mean, either way, I think they figure we need to get as much out of Matt as we can.
Yeah, I think he's going to AEW. That's just my honest opinion. I'm actually trying to browse through a message that I got a couple weeks ago. We had a member on the page that knows somebody that's pretty close to Matt Hardy, and he's saying it's pretty much a done deal. I can't find the message now, but I think he's AEW bound, in my opinion.
Yeah. So here's the only thing that makes me wonder about it is they made it super obvious. On AEW, one of the guys, when they asked him about the Exalted One, his answer was, "It's wonderful," or whatever like that. And then Matt Hardy himself, on his bye-bye little thing he posted before we knew he's going to wrestle again, he even said the Exalted One. But sometimes when wrestling is that obvious, it's the opposite. So news, rumors, gossip, whatever you want to call it. So I've read, and guys, this is just me reading my gazillion things I read on the internet, so who knows how close this is, but because of those great ratings and everything, that WWE is trying to actually get them to re-sign now.
Yeah. So I got to ask, we had Broken in TNA, we had Woken in WWE. So, due to his maturity and age, is he going to be the choking one?
Well, I don't know. And I kind of wonder, because we all know Matt Hardy definitely doesn't move like he used to. He's still a great storyteller, which is worth 100-fold to me, at least, over I can do cool moves. But at the same time, I think that WWE schedule doesn't work for him at his age. AEW, if he's the leader of this, he's probably wrestling maybe 10 times a year, really, with little spots here and there. So that might be good for him. But as we know, and we've already seen in the past, when guys are starting to rumor to go to AEW, if WWE wants you, they're going to make an offer you can't refuse. What I did like to see, or what I liked though, and this is my opinion, Randy Orton has been knocking it out of the park in this little storyline already. And then you got Matt, and for the first time in a long time, he got to do something real. It wasn't just a joke gimmick or ha ha ha, or and not that I didn't like the Bray stuff, but come on guys, he was the lawnmower, all that. There's a little comedy in there. This was a serious storyline. There was some more behind it. And look how it became the top-rated segment. So I don't know. We're going to have to wait and see. I don't know where it's going to end up. But what we do know with AEW is that we saw a new guy show up this week. I was actually there live in person, got to see it. But Jeff Cobb showed up on AEW. So this set the internet on fire, of course. Like, oh my God, Jeff Cobb signed with AEW. Well, then it came out, no, he did not sign with AEW. He's there on a trial basis, meaning he's going to work there for a little bit and see if he likes it. I don't know what y'all's take is on Jeff Cobb, but I love him. I think he's an amazing athlete. He's really good in the ring. He's up there for what, and used to be an older wrestling age. It seems now that wrestlers are able to go a little older and older. But what's y'all's take on Jeff Cobb?
Me being 33 and turning 34 in March, any old person that wrestles right now gives me hope still.
Oh, yeah.
I mean, I'm DDP's age just about when he started. So, I mean, there's still hope for the old gold out there. But NJPW, he wants to stay working for them, is what they're saying. And they have a good relationship with AEW. So, I think they're going to kind of keep him in both, which is fine. We might see some more crossovers with NJPW, especially considering they're wanting to do a second show. So they're going to need a little more talent, in my opinion, to keep those shows interesting. And I'm unsure if they're going to use the same talent or if they're going to kind of do what Raw and SmackDown are doing, where it's different talent. I would be perfectly fine with using the same talent in some ways, kind of like how Nitro and Thunder used to do and how SmackDown and Raw used to do. Mm-hmm. But I think he'd be a solid addition for them. I think they're in a phase now where they're kind of growing on their talent and they need some more talent into there. So I would be fine if he worked for both.
Can I, and Magic, I hope I'm not stepping on your toes because you may be getting to it, but since we're on the topic of people going to AEW, I've also heard rumors about Luke Harper. Have y'all heard anything about that?
Yeah, I think that, is out there as much as it can be without actually being out there type thing. I see it happening. He's also one of those guys who's up there in years, so I don't think he's done for sure, but I think he's got to earn a paycheck still.
Doesn't he have to wait 6 months? I think he's got that clause in his contract. I'm unsure. I think he has to wait a few months, though. I don't think it's that long. Maybe it's not 6 months, but I think they're saying can't yet. So
yeah, I don't know because it's like the whole. There's something there too about if they let you out or if it expires. There's so many different things. So no one really knows except for them.
Yeah, that's true. I think we'll see him though. I think he's going to go over there. He was misutilized in the WWE, and he's a very talented individual. I would love to see Luke Harper and get a title run in AEW. I'd love to even see him repackaged and brought back.
And I know, Gold, you were talking about I think Ring of Honor is still partnered with NJPW, though. Because they're still using each other's guys for their shows. So I don't know.
I thought Ring of Honor was doing stuff with TNA now too, or is that what's that other DOA? What is the other company
with Impact? Impact.
Yeah.
Well, they. I don't know. They might, but I know that some of the guys, Ring of Honor guys, and some of the NJPW guys are coming up on each other's shows still. So I don't know if they're allowed to work with others. Another big AEW signing that we didn't talk about was Brian Cage. He's also now them. He's out injured right now, but that was probably Impact's top guy there for a little bit. So
yeah, they've got some good talent on their roster, and it looks like they've been trying to utilize it appropriately. I think they still are trying to build on their women's division and tag division right now. That has been lacking a little bit, but I think they're starting to pick it up, and I look forward to seeing what they're able to do, and hopefully they can start. I know they're not trying to be WWE or beat them or compete or whatever at this point. They're just trying to be the alternative, which I think will make them successful. But to me, I want everyone to succeed, because then that means there's more opportunity for more people out there in the indies and all that, more opportunities for great talent to move their way up. I just honestly, and people are going to hate when I say this, but I really, truly do hope that a lot of the talent that's out there in the indies get an opportunity versus someone like a Superhuman. I mean, the guy has his moments, but I've been seeing like him getting like moments where he gets to get in the ring and some of the indie scenes and stuff like that. And there are a lot of people that have been wrestling for years that have great gimmicks and great personalities that haven't been given a shot. But because this guy jumps through barbed wire, occasionally, he's getting an opportunity. So hopefully it's not what we think it is. Because if I see him on WWE anytime soon, I'm gonna have to fit.
All right, well, let's reel Gold back in. So we had some news. Let's get back on some figure news. So we're seeing these pop up everywhere now. It's dropped the secondary market. Still not in my area, but these Cassius Ohno elites are coming back apparently in big waves at certain stores. Some people are reporting 3 or 4 Ohnos at their targets. I haven't seen them, and of course, along with the Ohno was the Page. I haven't seen them in my area yet, first or second wave. Nope. So, the question I would think or ask here, is this just part of those distribution problems more, or does Mattel do what they say they don't do and went back and made more figures?
Distribution. I don't think these
aren't like last series. It's been a little bit.
I think it's starting to come out of some of the back rooms. That's for sure. But it'd be nice if I could find one. Ringside
did say that they were sending out more. So I'm sorry, not Ringside, Mattel. So Mattel did say, hey, we're sending out more of these. So that's why I wonder, is Mattel just sit on these? Because at a certain point, they do have figures just sitting around that become old. Obviously, that's how it gets to our secondary discount department stores and all that type of stuff. So the question is Mattel so out of touch that they've got all these Ohnos that people are dying for and still just leave them in their giant warehouse? Or do they say, ooh, these are selling good, we need to go make some more?
That's a good question. I never did find either the Ohno or the Page around here. I got lucky and won them on the Page, which I recently just done. I won both of them, but I never did see either or at my local Target or Walmart. But that's a good question. They're
Target. They were Target exclusives, right?
Yeah, Ohno and Page.
I believe so.
Yeah.
So Walmart gets the legends like Monsoon and Neidhart, and Target gets like the newer talent. And I guess you can consider Paige one of the legend females, but
they did get the female because they took that from Walgreens, right?
Yeah, Walgreens it lost the females, and now they're just basically doing whatever figures they get or whatever secondhand figures. But what's happening is also, though, being in retail so long, and Nate can kind of speak on this too because he works for Big Lots. But what happens is these figures end up at these discount stores not only because of the distribution issues, but also because the giant retailers are refusing the shipments. Like they'll say, "All right, we've got 27 elites that are supposed to come in. We're going to cancel that order because we still have 20 on the shelf." So. Basically,
but
it's
that is true. You know, like that's why with stores like Big Lots or Ollie's or different chains like that, you go in and sometimes you might have like right now in my store I've got basic Jeff Hardy's, basic AJ Styles. Next week I might have a Cassius Ohno in my store because it's whatever they're getting their hands on at that time to put on the shelves, and they're going to sell it at a cheaper price. I mean, you go into Big Lots, you get elites for $10, instead of 18. So it's if you're willing to look around and hunt around, you can find some good stuff. And of course, I always scoop what I can before it even hits the shelf. But
this box is mine, my precious.
Yes.
No. Yeah.
My employees actually set boxes aside, knowing that Nate's going to go through it to see what he wants before.
Don't you touch that! Don't you touch that box.
Yeah. I've heard the Sensational Sherry, the Pete Dunnes, I haven't heard Ohnos, but I've heard the stories of all these hard sawed-off figures. I've got some from Big Lots and stuff before, but I've always got just the normal figs that are probably going for around $10 or whatever. Now I haven't been lucky to find the steel deal or anything,
And what's funny about Big Lots is it's like, all right, excellent, $10 for an elite, hell yeah, and you walk up to the shelf, $10 for a basic. What the fuck?
Yeah. There's where they get you, and there's how I get my check.
and the funny thing is like the basics are actually more expensive at Big Lots than like Walmart and stuff because I think Walmart's $9.95 or $4 or something.
Yeah.
Yeah, and they try to get you with some of the special basics. But all right, listeners, we're going to go ahead and we're going to take a quick little break, and we will be back with a ton more for you guys soon.
Hey everybody, it's Dwayne Gill, also known as Gilbert, and you're watching the Asylum Wrestling Podcast. I just go nuts, man, when I listen to it.
And we are back. We are back. We're going to go back into our news and notes as we're not finished yet. What you got for us, Magic?
All right, so the next thing up, guys, just wanted to talk about this a little, is the Elite 76 actually finally hit pre-order. So this is cool because we see some of the concept art. The other thing we got to find out of this is that the Chase version of Christian, and remember he's in that Brood style, the normal's going to be like a white shirt. The Chase, he's going to have a black shirt. The other thing is, even though they gave us pictures and concept art of all, we still don't know what the Wrestlemania Strowman and Cena are going to look like. We all know that we think it's going to be the Thugonomics. It's pretty much going to be. That's such an intriguing figure to me because we've actually had the old Cena Thugonomics in the past, and some are amazing and some are $10 wonders now. So anything excite y'all or get y'all? Me personally, I'm probably going to have to do both Christians, Lacey, and Cena out of that series. And just so you know, I'll go over it real quick. It's Lacey, it's Otis and Tucker, both heavy machinery. You got the Christian, and then you got the Cena and Strowman, which are supposed to be the Wrestlemania ones. What about y'all? Y'all get a chance to look or think if you're going to want those at all?
think I'm gonna want the whole set, but what concerns me is that when I go on ringside, the picture they use for Cena is him in his normal green attire.
Mm-hmm.
So we don't know what we're getting with that yet. I don't really care for another Braun, to be honest with you. I'll definitely buy Otis and Tucker. I'll definitely buy Lacey. I'll definitely buy both Christians. But I'm not. If it's a Thugonomics Cena, they made two other Thugonomics Cenas. They made the one you were talking about. That's the Five Below Wonder, because they loaded up Five Below with it, where he's in the defining moments, and that
right
comes with the brass knucks. The other one that was also a defining moments came in his orange jersey. And that's the rare one. That's the one that cost all that money. So
is that $100 now? About? Or is it more even?
I'd say it's probably around $150, but you could probably find it on a deal for $100. It was a lot more than that, but a lot of people started selling it, so it's kind of flooded the market a little more. So it kind of went down. But I'm excited for the whole set. It depends on the Braun. I mean, they've released so many Brauns. I mean, now, if it came with the little boy accessory where he won the tag belts with that kid, I would buy it all day.
So I was getting ready to say, what else really could they do other than that with Braun? I mean, I don't really know. He's never really had much different attire or anything like that.
What if they gave us a throwback where he was part of, what's his name? He was the no.
The Rosebuds.
Yeah, what if it was Rosebud?
Yeah. Oh, I would buy that all day.
That's a good idea, but they'll never think of that. But that's a great idea.
And Gold, this might make you feel better. Yeah, that's what Ringside give us. If you go onto Megalopolis, they show a picture of Cena in the Yankees jersey and backwards hat and the big chain and everything. So maybe that'll make you feel better about what that figure will look like.
I feel like they should have. I mean, and I'm excited about a Chase Christian, and a lot of people will argue with me, but I feel like they should have done Cena with a variant, and it'd be different color jerseys. I would probably buy multiple Cenas if they had did that. So
yeah, so that's maybe now the Chase is always going to be that legend, because it was Hurricane, you know.
I still need Hurricane. I don't even have him yet.
Nick Francis has both.
What was it? Sorry, I was browsing something. Oh, yeah. What I was browsing was, and I don't know if you look at this, John, since we're on the topic of the John Cena figure, it's WrestlingShop.com. And if you go on it, it doesn't have a picture, but what it does have in the description, it's got a video of Cena returning at WrestleMania 35, and it says... the description about the figure says John Cena returns as the Doctor of Thugonomics to verbally assault Elias at WrestleMania 35. Celebrate this moment with the WWE Elite Collection action figure. So, like I said, all but confirmed, like you said.
Yeah, definitely.
I'm just praying, and I just looked them up, Magic. Hurricane and Dunn from that series are both out of stock until March.
Oh yeah, for sure. That's why I try not to, because $16 at Walmart's a hell of a lot better than $30, but sometimes some of them I have to pre-order.
Well, I'm going to be pre-ordering going forward, because unfortunately, as much as I hate to say this, figure hunting has been very disappointing. I mean, I've been going to Targets, and normally I get lucky. Like, I'll hit up 6 or 7 Targets and I'll at least find one. It's like, oh, okay, that's fine. But lately, like the last 2 months, I've struck out everywhere I've went, and there's no sign of them restocking. Right. So.
All right, so we had another big kind of news hit this week or last week. And we all know, if you're keeping up with wrestling, probably a couple months or so ago, we heard that All Elite Wrestling, AEW, was having their guys face scanned. Now, is this for a video game? Is this for figures? We don't know, or we didn't know at the time. But just released, AEW has signed a deal with Wicked Cool Toys and Jazzwares, which is, I think, 2 companies that kind of merged together, and that they will be doing wrestling figures for All Elite. Now, that's the only information we have. So do we know, is it going to be on scale with Mattel? Is it going to be Elite price? Is it going to be Like basics, we don't know that, but definitely cool news to know because we just had New Japan start to get released. We got WWE, of course. Guys, there's going to be a lot of competition for the figure dollars out there right now.
Yeah, speaking of those AEW figures, Magic, I mean, we could kind of speculate what Series 1 might be. I mean, I'm thinking like Chris Jericho, Cody and Brandy, maybe in a 2-pack type of thing, but you know how they do separate series and stuff like that?
Right.
The Young Bucks will probably come out again, even though they've already had their LJN figures. Maybe a Moxley.
That flopped, by the way.
But yeah, I still don't have it. I don't know why I haven't gotten it. But I mean, what do you think? I mean, I'm thinking that's Series 1 right there.
Well, I've been kind of playing that with my head, and I think for the first series, they're going to have to go deep. I mean, like a lot of them, because, and not knowing if they're going to do 2-packs or what, let me just get you some names here, and most of them, not all of them, you're going to say, wow, they've got to have some type of figure. Obviously, like you said, Jericho, Kenny Omega, Adam Page. I think they're going to have a female, whether it's Nyla Rose or Britt Baker. They're going to have something. Obviously, then we have, SCU, all three of those. Cody, of course. Dustin. Dustin's a very awesome person. Darby Allin, he's big right now. He's got the cool face. That's good for figures. Jake Hager. Bad Boy Joey Janela, Jimmy Havoc, Moxley, Jungle Boy, Luchasaurus, MJF, they have to have, in my opinion. Marco Stunt, of course, the Young Bucks. Pac's still there. Orange Cassidy is so over right now. Then we got Pentagon. We got both the Lucha Brothers.
Speaking of Orange Cassidy, would he need to come with alternate hands? You can stuff him in his pockets.
Maybe so. Maybe no him.
That would be one I would open and play with, and just have him do like a uninspiring like elbow drop with his hands in his pockets.
Right. But anyways, to keep going, still they have Shawn Spears, Santana, both the tag. I mean, there's just so many people. And then you get to the females. They still Awesome Khan, Brandy, Britt. Chris Statlander's real huge right now. Leva Bates, Nyla Rose, of course, Penelope Ford, Rio, who just lost the time. I mean, just what I'm talking about. Like, who do you leave out? Who do you leave out?
They're going to go with the people that created the company, that started and helped it from day one. So you're going to have maybe not a Brandy. Maybe she won't be like that. Maybe she'll say, I don't need a figure. But you're going to have a Cody. You're going to have a Jericho. There's no way they're not going to bring a Jericho out in Series 1. It's not going to happen.
Right.
And he'll probably come with the belt, for sure.
I mean, definitely.
You got to have the Young Bucks.
You got to have the Young Bucks. You're probably going to have a Moxley, even though he's already had 100 figures, is Dean Ambrose.
Right.
You're going to have those guys. I mean, but they might even take a step back and say, hey, let's get out of that sunlight and let's let like a Luchasaurus have a figure. Because, I mean, maybe they will have that one-off like you're saying. Maybe it'll be all those names. And then the 8th or 9th figure is like somebody you're like, oh, okay, they released him already,
Mm-hmm.
Maybe like a Jungle Boy. And you're like, wow, okay.
Right.
Like you get a Luchasaurus with a Jungle Boy. So.
Definitely.
I just can't wait. But my pockets are telling me, it's like that song. My pocket's telling me no,
Well, that's what I'm saying with these right now, with all the different stuff coming out. The wrestling fig as a whole dollar is getting stretched pretty thin.
Yep. We're not going to, we're going to be out here like, so do I get my Jungle Boy or do I get Elite 78?
Exactly.
All right. And then, of course, Magic will be like, I got them both.
Well, I think what we're going to see too, what I think this will happen, and it's happened in the past certain times, is you might be seeing some value drop in the older figures. And I know what you're thinking is, well, why is that? Well, because people are going to end up selling some of their older stuff to fund the newer stuff.
Right.
So what happens is when they have to sell it so much, the value goes down just because people can start to get them cheaper. Because I need this series, I need it now, right when it first comes out.
It depends on distribution, though, to your point. Like that, yes, we all used to do that when they first came out, but now it's like pulling teeth to even find them, right? But that's where Magic's going to be waiting in the wings. He's going to be like, they're going to be like, hey, you want to buy this Cloak Taker so I can go buy the new AEW figures? And Magic's going to be like, yes, I do.
Oh, remember, I don't have that one yet, so we'll have to try to get it.
And it'll be like, 6 months from now, I'll be like, how many takers do you have? 61. You only got 7 more?
If I did get that many more at a great price, it wouldn't hurt my feelings.
He'll be like over there with like no new figures. Everyone will have all the new ones, but he'll have like an entire room of takers. Like, yes.
Right.
And I'll be like, can I sell one of your takers so I can get it? It'd be like that hamburger. I'll gladly eat a burger today and pay for it tomorrow.
That is awesome. All right, so one last piece. I think we, even though they're a podcast themselves, I think we got to discuss the fiasco that happened. So we know Major Wrestling Figure Podcasts, good show, but they've got a huge following. And so what happened was they've decided to make their own figures. The first wave hit was limited to 500. Well, then they brought out the second wave, which was limited to 50. It was the orange and blue, based off of Kurt Hawkins' love for the New York Mets. And they hyped it. It's going to be huge. People are going to love it. Ringside hyped it a little for them even, because obviously they're Ringside's figures. They're the ones who fund it and sell them. And then all of us in this podcast were there trying to get it that day. And what happens? Ringside site crashed. That was not even like the biggest pre-sale in the world. I know all of us were messaging back and forth, cussing out Ringside, cussing out the wrestlers, cussing out everything. Luckily, a couple of us were able to walk away with some. But before we go on to what's coming after that, what was y'all's takes and what did y'all experience during this with the new Mage figs coming out?
I think Nick made out like a bandit. I just want to point that out.
We'll see. I didn't get lucky enough to get the second series, I guess you would call it, is what the Met series is. But I was it's probably the most pissed off I've ever been to not get a figure, simply for the fact that, and David, I know you're not a part of the Patreon group that they have, but you pay a premium to actually get the figures, like to get a code to get it a little bit early, or to be able to order it early. And I'm sitting there, what was it, Magic, like 15 minutes before everybody else, before it opens to public, something like that?
Yeah, I think it gives 15 minutes.
And like Magic said, we're going back and forth because all we keep getting is an error message. And I'm like, what in the hell is going on here? And long story short, I end up not getting the second series. But like David said, hopefully I made out like a bandit. I don't know. Time will tell when these Stomp figures come out, but I think Magic got lucky enough to get the second series. I'm pretty sure you'll probably touch base on the Stomp figures, so I won't go into detail about that yet.
Yeah. So what Nick and what Gold was talking about there is there was a certain amount of people who were able to get an order in for the orange and blue figures, and then they got that dreaded email the next day, or maybe 2 days later. You have to correct me on that one if I'm wrong, Nick. But the email said, guys, I'm sorry, we over-ordered. You are not going to get the blue and orange ones, which of course crushes your heart. But then it was followed up with something very great. It said, but because of this, we are offering you can have one of two options. You can have a complete refund, or the non-released Stomp figures of them, along with, I think, was it an autographed retro or just a retro Zack Ryder? Sorry.
Yeah, just a retro Zack Ryder. It wasn't autographed. But...
So you got the free Zack Ryder and the unreleased figures. Now, we don't know exactly how many people ordered that. I think I know maybe 4 or 5 that posted, or like Nick, who was able to tell me about it. So we don't know how many, and Nick, you got those in already, correct?
Yep, I'm sitting there looking at them right now.
What number are they? I'm just curious.
That's what I got 51 of 250.
So we're hoping they just grabbed random numbers. We're definitely hoping it wasn't 50-something people that got this.
Could be more.
But
Could be, you're right.
obviously, I mean, it's. I don't know how they're going to prevent it, but it's going to sell just as quick as the second series. I mean, it's
now we know
unbelievably
it's
fast.
going to go quicker, because the other thing too, at that same time, they always offer the damage packaging. So we don't know how many of those they're selling. So, I mean, we could be looking at 150 figures, you know?
Yeah.
So
could be like 2 left.
Yeah, you're right. So the major guys, both of them, Zack Ryder, Matt Cardona, and Kurt Hawkins, Brian, what's his last name? His real last name? Yeah, Brian Myers. So they both put out statements, didn't want it to happen, but it did. They also let us know, hey, we're going to try to make it up to you. We got these new major belts coming out. There's, I think, 1,000 total. They're the exact same belt, but they'll be coming with different shirts. And now when I'm talking about belts and shirts, these are for figures. So it's fits their action figures. They've now shown the packages, same belt, just different color package, different color shirts for the figs. Now, just from comments and stuff on that Facebook group, they haven't gone into pricing much. But I did see where Zack Ryder said there's going to be no limit on those.
Well, that's good.
Yeah, when he first talks about belts, I thought they were talking like a kid size or a kid belt or something like that. But now that I know they're in that same packaging and they're figure size, probably going to have to get those as well. Don't know what y'all think on that, but
I'll definitely be getting them. I mean, that's for sure. And one thing that, we was talking about the figures. I don't know if you've seen Matt Cardona's post, but it's going to be interesting on the price that Ringside puts on these Stomp figures, because he made a remark, and again, I don't know if you caught on to it in that Facebook group, that they're not going to be afraid to mark it up. The original price is $60, I believe, is what they was charging.
Well, yeah, and remember, they ordered all of these figures at the same time, and the first 500 was what, $49?
Correct. Yeah.
So remember, they're making money at $49. Then they brought up this orange blue series. Maybe you're going to bring up Stomp even more. But yeah, and honestly, why would he be scared to raise price? Or they?
Yeah. It's gonna sell out quick, regardless whether it's 60 or 100. I mean, they're gonna sell out immediately. So
definitely, and I'm gonna be sitting there trying to get one.
I'm not gonna lie. I may try to get me another set.
Definitely.
Hopefully, you may have a set beforehand, but we'll get into that later.
I might. You never know. You never know. I've always got feelers out. All right. So guys, that's gonna kind of wrap it up for our little news notes and all that good stuff. I'm gonna throw it back to Gold, and he's got some more for us.
Just real quick, before we go to our next break, we're going to kind of discuss, basically, we're going to end the segment we're going to go ahead and go with the Willie Slapping Winners of the Week.
Oh, boy.
So Nick has that list of all the gals and guys that have won in the past week and a half or so.
Yeah.
I'll pass it over to Nick.
All right, yeah. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to start with the most recent set of winners, which was actually just a few hours ago. And the reason I'm going to start with that is because it was a complete donation event. And if you're a member of the Facebook group, you know that we always try to help out, whether it's a member or somebody we know personally. Either way, we do our best to try to help them out. And that's one great part about this community that we're growing here on Facebook. And so just to make a long story short, to not get into so many details and hold you up, is, I had a personal friend that had a travesty happen when they had their house completely burn up. I mean, everything in it, there's absolutely nothing left. And she's got a little boy that's about the same age as my little girl, so it kind of hit home a little bit. So what we done, and I put up some items. We had one of our members donated a slew of items, Corbs Ducharme from Canada. So I really want to thank him. He donated some items. We had an event that started Thursday evening, and it ran until last night, Friday. And it was a 6-winner event, and we raised a total of $352. And guys, I'm actually still getting people PMing me just wanting to donate money. Don't even want to be in the event because the event's already been ran. And so I'm still getting PMs from people that are trying to donate money. But we did have 6 winners in that event. So I'll just go through them quick and tell you what they chose. The first winner was Jeremy Cotton, who's a loyal member and a listener here on the podcast, and he won the lot that Corbs donated, which was a belt. It was a TNA belt. I can't remember exactly which one. It was it was a pile of stuff that Corbs donated: figures, mock figures, Bendums, a little bit of everything. So he was our first winner in that of the 6 in that event. And then we had Sarah Ashton, which is one of the ladies here, and the very few ladies that we have in the Facebook group, and she won. This was the second winner, and she won the Classic Jacks rock figure that we had donated. Then we had Sean Napier, who went with the Elite, Aleister Black and Elias. We had Daniel Cush, who went with the Carrie Sane and the Metalik Elite. Then we had Edward Gilden Sr., who went with a Danny Cage poster that was donated. And then we had one of our fellow admin, Chris Maddock, who won. And what he got was a $20 gift card to, I can't remember the website off the top of my head, but Jimmy Kelly is the guy's name. And he makes stickers, and he graciously donated a $20 gift card to his website. So, Chris won that, so he can go in there and get him some stickers, courtesy of Jimmy. So thank you, Jimmy, for that if you're listening. So that was that. It was a great donation event. I want to thank everybody on the page that participated, that donated, that's still PMing me about donating money to them. So real great of the members. Just shows you the support and the community that we have here. So aside from that, I'm looking through my notes because I don't have we had so many events this past week. I don't have them all written down, but we did have Ben Walker who won a belt Wednesday night in one of our Powerball events, and he's yet to choose which one he's going to get made, but knowing Ben, it'll probably be an IWGP belt. We had David Gold, who ran the Undisputed Era 3-pack, and I think that event filled in like 10 minutes. And so we had Craig, who won that. David Gold himself has been on kind of a streak. We all know the saying. What's that saying, Magic, that everybody knows about here on the group about David Gold?
Oh, it's that, Gold always wins.
Yeah, there you go. I couldn't remember. Gold always wins. And for right now, we have facts that can back that up. And I'll go back to a couple of weeks ago on one of the events that I failed to mention last week, because it was kind of a big win. He always says, hey, when I win, it's not it's a small event. Well, he won a Elite Harley race figure, and if any of you guys know about that series, which is the flashback series, it's about a $300 to $400 figure. So if Gold tells you he doesn't win big events, it's a lie.
This is normal. We're used to it, guys. That's why the hashtag, everyone knows, gold always wins, and he wins big. We all know this.
Yeah.
This isn't breaking news.
Oh, yeah. So how about what Nick won this week? What'd you win this week, Nick?
That's what I was going to round the Willie slappers out, because yes, I did get to slap my Willie for once, and it was actually a John Majewski event. The Magic Man ran an event yesterday, last night that got me a mock Hasbro Black Pants HBK. I could have chose between that or the green card Borga, which I already have. So I went with the HBK, and I think I spent maybe $18 in the event. So pretty real good value that I got out of that, and
guys,
definitely going to my collection.
Just wanted to say, in that same event, Nick actually had bought a spot for someone else. So sometimes that good karma hits, and you're able to take home the prize.
And what is that? Hashtag
Exactly.
Nick always wins. Just we have facts to back that up.
Do I dare mention the video that I posted on the YouTube channel? Subscribe to our YouTube channel, by the way. I did also this
gorgeous belt, huh?
Yeah, I may have gotten a belt that David kind of wants to get off of me. It was the $1 Million Man belt. It wasn't on this page, so I didn't list it. But I got a little lucky on a replica $1 Million Man belt. So I'll end the segment with that. Well, yeah, we'll see. but I definitely want to end this segment with thanking everybody, and I know I'm sounding like a broken record, but thanking everybody that put, whether it's donating money or donating an item or just, tagging people or whatever it was in the donation event. We try our best as to use this platform, the best way we can to grow the community and help our members, help anybody that we know we can help. And this is just a small way of doing so, and it was all because of you guys. So thanks to everybody for that donation event. That was very, very, very amazing.
Yes, it was. I definitely agree. And thank you to everybody. Once again, from the bottom of our hearts, we all joke around and say that David always wins and Nick always wins and Magic always wins takers. But in the whole, everybody wins and the Asylum wins. So once again, thanks to everybody. And we will be right back.
Have you ever been excited to photograph your figures only to be disappointed? Fuck! These pictures suck!
Don't worry, I got you, bro.
Call David Gold's Figure Photography.
Sexy.
Get the pictures you need of your figures. Stovetop.
He's on fire!
Off-centered on carpet.
Nice stuff, bro.
You name it, David does it.
Sexy.
PM David Gold to schedule a consultation today.
And we are back. Thank you guys and gals for getting through the show thus far. We're going to start off. We're going to talk about some big, exciting news that the Asylum is going to be going to West Virginia. Nick and myself are heading to represent the Asylum in West Virginia with the Nerd Closet with Rocky Turner and Josh Blevins and Bobby Anders and whomever else decides to come out. And it's going to be from March 6th to March 7th. And we're going to be at a table with two legends in the business, Hacksaw Jim Duggan, for those of us who don't know, who won the very first televised Royal Rumble, and the great Buff Bagwell will also be with us on both days. Hacksaw will be with us on the 6th, and Bagwell will be with us on the 6th and the 7th. So please keep your eyes peeled, as we're going to be doing some offers to get yourself some signed merch. For those of you who happen to live near West Virginia, we'll be there live and in charge. If you want to come and see us, come and hang out. We're going to have lots of merchandise, lots of stuff to sign. It's really exciting. This will be our first table sale that we'll be doing. It won't be the first expo I've ever been to, or convention or con, but it'll certainly be first time I've actually been able to kind of rub elbows with actual guys that have been in the business at a table together.
Yeah.
And I've met a ton of people. Don't get me wrong. I met McFoley. Everyone's met Virgil, right? But I've met Virgil. I've
Actually,
met King Kong Bundy.
David, Virgil met me. That's how that went down.
You're in line.
I love it.
Want a signature? Hey, it's me. It's me, Virgil.
Well, what you forgot to say is you met Virgil, and for meeting him, you owed him $20.
Oh, and here's the thing. When I met Virgil, not to try to go off the rails, but when I met Virgil, it was in 2005 in Philadelphia. And there was a vendor there that was selling Hasbros. And at the time, I had no idea what a dually was. For whatever reason, I just didn't seem to notice. And so the guy sold me a Virgil for $10, $9.99. God, I wish Hasbros were still $9.99. But it was $9.99. And it wasn't in the best condition, but it was decent. And so I took it up to Virgil, and he's like, "Oh, $30." And I'm like, "But the sign says 20." But yeah, you didn't buy my merch, really? So he had me to sign my dually Hasbro for $30.
It's like it's like the end of an '80s sitcom. Oh, Virgil. Wah, wah, wah.
Wow.
And it's like, I already bought the figure. I got to get a sign. And then I went over to King Kong Bundy's table because he happened to be there, and his signature was 20, and he did it on my Classics Jacks because I had one of those with me because we knew he was going to be there. But Virgil,
he didn't say, "But you didn't buy my merch."
Nope. He said, "I'll sign it," and it was only $20. And he was a freaking awesome guy, a great person, and just overall nice person to speak with. Had a long conversation with anyone that was in line. Virgil was more so, yeah, I get it. I understand. But anyways, not to go off the rails. Big show. Good stuff for us. We're going to be handing out some Asylum cards, stickers. We're going to have some merch. We're going to do some live events on the page Saturday and Sunday. Probably have some events for some really nice signed stuff for the members. Feel free to send me any merchandise you have.
I know I just made a big, huge belt order, so stay tuned for that. If you show up, we're going to have at least 11 to 15 belts on site. So definitely going to be a very interesting show. Hey, I'm looking forward to it.
We might only have the belts on, Nick. That might be it. And if they buy
that I'm hoping that's the case, because a little birdie told me that we're going to have a fellow member, Josh Blevins, there, and we already heard that he wants to pose with just the belt. So, he may get a chance to do it there that weekend.
Yep, and we can give him, and we'll have an Asylum belt there, and we can have the Asylum issue of Playgirl.
There we go. Now we're talking.
Yeah.
But it's definitely going to be. I'm excited for it.
Yeah,
I'm definitely excited.
It's huge. I mean, it's going to be great. Be some time to catch up with some other page members. Rocky Turner's a legend in our books. Great guy, awesome person, and we get to rub elbows with Rocky Turner, and who, in my opinion, has met a lot of these wrestlers, and for whatever reason, Rocky Turner is just sweet talks them and has their hey, let me just get Buff on the phone. Hold on a minute,
he sent me a He sent me a screenshot, and he's like, just texting Buff. He's like, yeah, just texting Buff Bagwell. And he just texts him like me and you were sitting here texting. And I'm like, do what? I mean,
hey, just text Mick Foley. We're good.
Yeah. But I'm looking forward to
him and his wife. I'm like, what? Okay. And he's all.
I'm looking forward to meeting him, though. I'm looking forward to meeting Rocky, and this will be my first time meeting people like Josh Blevins, and I think you said Bobby Anders is going to be there. So it's going to be exciting not only to meet, Hacksaw and Buff Bagwell, but some of the other members that we got on the page that we don't get to see at all, really. So this will be the first time meeting those guys. So I'm looking forward to it.
Oh, and I'll be there signing figures as well, and I will make them personalized, and I will put Gold Always Wins on there for you guys. Don't worry.
We gotta figure out a way to get some David Gold 8x10s. I don't know if we got anybody here that can work on making that happen, but definitely got to get some Gold 8x10s.
And then we can have some Magic microwave pictures so he can sign those. So
But
we'll
I
good.
won't be there. I'll be way down in Texas.
Good old. But the thing is this is going to lead to other shows for us because we can do because that's the plan. To be honest, is to really start going to a lot of these expos if we're able to get our hands on them and get a closer relationship with some of these wrestlers in the industry and meet some of the legends out there like the Rockies of the world and stuff and just really enjoy ourselves.
Yeah, you took the words right out of my mouth on that. That's exactly what I was getting ready to say. That I'm hoping this is just the beginning of, of doing these things. I'm looking forward to it, and hopefully this will just be the start. Maybe we'll come to Texas one day, Magic. What do you think?
I think so. I think we don't even you guys hang out all the time, and I'm just down here thousands of miles away, just waiting for y'all to PM me. Sniffle.
We're
sniffle,
hoping.
Sniffle.
we're hoping we can get. We're hoping Mike Secca joins, but he's not sounding too enthused about making that happen. We'll see. I'm hoping the Z-Man makes an appearance, but we'll find out.
Magic sounds like a lost puppy out there. He's like, I'm just waiting for that PM.
Nobody knows.
He's just busy out there getting calls on, out there just getting random calls from legends, and we're like over here on the East Coast, like, when's Magic going to come see us? That's what's really happening.
Exactly.
I mean, we're microwaveless over here. All we got is stoves, So
just sitting over
gentlemen,
here. How cool is
that, let's kind of discuss. And Nate, you're more than welcome to join us on this one as well. We'll start with Nate on this one. What we want to do is we want to get into like a discussion about. Since we're in that season, 'tis the season for WrestleMania, right?
Oh, I love it too. I love it.
It's Christmas season for a wrestling fan,
right? Yeah, we're a little under 2 months remaining before we get to WrestleMania, and as all of you have noticed, WrestleMania used to kind of be in the middle of March. Like we've had WrestleManias on March 15th, and now it's kind of worked its way into April. But and nonetheless, what we feel. First, let's start with what our worst WrestleMania was. How, in our opinion, what is the worst WrestleMania and why? And then what is the best WrestleMania and why? So, Nate, what is your worst WrestleMania in your opinion, and what is the best?
This may come as a shock to some of you, because I know what the general consensus is a lot of times on what the worst WrestleMania is. However, the worst WrestleMania to me was in 2013, WrestleMania 29. And here's the reason I say that. All right, WrestleMania 29 gave me the dream match, CM Punk and The Undertaker. It was an amazing feud. It was an amazing match. And other than that, I got essentially the WWE giving me a presentation they would give to their corporate board members. WrestleMania 29, to me, is boring. And I know it has The Rock and Cena, and that's all well and good. But that's my least favorite WrestleMania. It feels so corporate and so generic and so homogenized. I don't know what you guys think, but that's my opinion.
I think that the once in a lifetime wasn't once in a lifetime.
Right. We went to the well, WrestleMania 29. That Mania, and I know, you had the Fandango craze that lasted 6 minutes, and there was that, I don't know, Brock and Triple H let me down that night, and it just felt so corporate and cold. And as an old school wrestling fan, I do not like that Mania at all, and it is my least favorite.
Poor Paul Heyman that night too, man. Leading two different guys in the ring, back-to-back matches, and loses both of them.
Yeah.
It was like a Bobby Heenan moment all over again. But yeah, I mean, that was a pretty rough WrestleMania. I'd have to agree with you on that one. I wouldn't say worse, but I mean, Fandango beating Jericho, man.
And I know at the heart of it, in that whole thing, it was Jericho being an old school guy trying to, put over the young lion and trying to do business and you know what I mean. But it just the whole show, other than Punk and Taker, to me, none of it felt. I didn't have any emotion in that Mania. So that was just that's my opinion.
Mm-hmm. Then you put the IC belt on the pre-show.
Right.
It's ridiculous, but alrighty. And what was your favorite WrestleMania or best WrestleMania?
Mine's actually a tie, and I know that's cheating, but I do that on the We Can't Wrestle podcast all the time anyway. But mine is a tie, and the first one is WrestleMania 8. WrestleMania 8 is, I think, it's a cool looking show. It has you have a match between The Undertaker and Jake Roberts. You have a fucking classic between Bret Hart and Roddy Piper. You have Randy Savage and Ric Flair, which is an amazing match and has my favorite Randy Savage quote ever in that when his promo after that match, after he's won the title, he doesn't care about the title. It's about the honor of his wife. And he's got those crazy eyes, and he rips his shirt, and he says, and I quote, Ric Flair with his crazy eyes, "You haven't been beat up properly yet." I love that shit. It's amazing. And then Hogan and Sid. Okay, it's not the greatest match in the world, but it was a great attraction. And all around, that might be my favorite Mania, but I also have to give a nod to WrestleMania 19. WrestleMania 19 is from top to bottom an amazing wrestling show. You got Jericho and Michaels. You have Brock and Angle, Triple H and Booker T, Mysterio and Hardy. Like every match on that pay-per-view could be a main event. So WrestleMania 8, WrestleMania 19, those are my two favorite Manias.
Let me jump in real quick. Nate, what do you think about it should have been Flair and Hogan?
I think that at that time, I was probably 13 or 14 at that time. That's what I expected. And that's, at the time going into it, I was thinking, well, this is a letdown. However, if you look back on it now, what could have been is not as good as what happened. Savage and Flair is one of the best things WWE ever did. And it was purely by political accident. And I really do think that if it would have been Hogan Flair, okay, so it would have been a dream match, but I don't think it nearly would have resonated through time like it does now.
Yeah, I agree with you. Definitely Savage versus Flair, like one of, I shouldn't say all-time great, but an amazing match. Mm-hmm. Something funny is I was listening to the Something to Wrestle With podcast, and I think it's the latest one, but Bruce Pritchard said that they actually had brought Flair in to work with Savage. Now, I don't know because I was younger, even younger than you then, so I wasn't as in tune to wrestling, but I'd always heard the rumor that Hogan and Flair were the go-to show for all the house shows at that time.
And they absolutely bombed, which is the crazy thing. Like they had a match in Oakland, California, that was terrible. They didn't have chemistry together. And that's kind of what made Vince change his mind going into Mania, because he saw that, okay, these two guys are two of the greatest of all time, probably the two biggest attractions of the 80s, but I put them in the ring together, and it did not work. So that's kind of what made him change his mind, was that match in Oakland, California. And, so thankfully, what we got was some of the best business I think the WWF ever did.
All right, we'll pass it over to, we'll go with Magic next. Worst WrestleMania, and then your favorite WrestleMania.
Okay, so we'll start with the worst one. I'm going to go back to WrestleMania 11. There's a couple decent matches. A pretty good one with Diesel and Shawn. But then they completely ruined that by making the main event Bam Bam Bigelow versus Lawrence Taylor.
But Lawrence Taylor held his own. Let's be real. Let's give him a little credit.
And not to butt in, Magic, but I actually, we talked about, on this week's We Can't Wrestle podcast, we talked about In Your House number 2. There's a match on that show between Bam Bam and Henry Godwin. And I told Aaron, Bam Bam Bigelow's 1995 is like the last 2 years of WCW. You've never seen anything. You've never seen anything. You've never seen anything go from sugar to shit as quickly in your life. He's main eventing WrestleMania in April, and by November he's jobbing out to Goldust, and he's out of there. It's crazy.
And now I did like the Diesel Shawn match. But God, I mean, something was just off with that WrestleMania. We had a Bret Hart match, and I still to this day say Bret Hart can make anyone in the ring. But he wrestled Bob Backlund, and it was not a good match.
You mean his unintelligible?
And not to mention from the beginning of the match, like the first 13 seconds of the match, Roddy Piper's on the mic going, "Do you quit? Do you quit?"
Yes.
It's so annoying.
Yes.
It was definitely not anywhere near as good as their encounter when Backlund won with the chicken wing. That was an amazing match.
I mean, we had and I hate to say this because I love him so much, we had an awful Undertaker match. He wrestled King Kong Bundy.
He kind of wrestled King Kong Bundy.
Yeah, you're right. He was in a wrestling ring with, I guess I should say.
He was with Ted DiBiase.
Now it was a pretty decent match with Jeff Jarrett and Razor Ramon. There was some Lex Luger, British Bulldog, whatever, a crappy match. Undertaker was not good. I mean, Owen Hart and Yoko, Smoking Guns was okay at best. But I mean, just overall, that was like, and like you said, I think that was the curse for Bam Bam, because it was like, all right, you main evented WrestleMania. That's your career, bud.
And he did his best. You know, you got. I'll give Bam Bam the credit, and I remember going into it thinking this is going to be a stinker, and they actually did a decent 9-minute match, but it was definitely not WrestleMania main event worthy. And they were in the Hartford Civic Center, which they might as well have been in the Van Wert, Ohio Armory. It just looks like crap, and it's pretty rough.
Yeah, I will say now. Obviously, I watched this, and let's see, what year was WrestleMania 11? That was like 95. So I was like 13 years old.
That was the last good year for our Cowboys, by the way, too.
Yeah, thanks for reminding. But I'll be honest with you, I was excited about the match back then. But here's one thing I'll tell you as a wrestling fan. If you had any awesome matches or matches you liked as a young kid, 10, 12, 13 years old, sometimes it's better to not go back and watch them.
Yeah, like that Sunday night halftime heat with Mankind versus The Rock when he puts the skid on top of The Rock and they pan the camera to his face and he's like, no, and it's like that's the best thing since sliced cheese back then, but now it's like really corny.
Yeah, we all know some matches don't age well, but what I'm about to get into for my best WrestleMania, this one's some controversy, and when I say controversy, I'm talking about why I like it, but I'm going to go to WrestleMania 3.
Oh, that's a good one.
And I loved 3. Honestly, I mean, a couple matches at best, but overall every match is pretty decent. It's also got, in my opinion, still to this day, the best match, how can I say it? I guess best in-ring match. I don't know if a best, but definitely.
You can say it, Magic. It is it is probably the best match.
Yeah, let me say one of, if not the best. That's how I should say it.
This one most people would agree with you on.
and guys, like, no joke, still to this day, maybe once or twice every couple months, I go back and I watch it, and I love it. Obviously, I'm talking about Savage and Steamboat for that Intercontinental title. I mean, it was just good, guys. It was amazing.
It was ahead of its time, that's for sure.
It was, and then a surprising match for me on this one is Jake Roberts and Honky Tonk Man.
Oh, that was a good match too.
Yeah. I mean, you're not going to say it's 5-star match or whatever, but hell, those guys worked. It was a good match.
The next time you watch WrestleMania 3, one of the little things that's funny to me, it makes me laugh, is when Jimmy Hart and the Honky Tonk Man are leaving the ring after that match. There is a group of fans, and the Silverdome was an amazingly humongous arena, stadium, I should say. There is a group of fans as they're leaving that pelts them with Cokes and shit that is so funny. It's like, that is amazing heel heat. Like, they are just getting pelted with the most cups you've ever seen in your life. It's great. More than Hogan when he turned.
That is awesome. But some people aren't happy about the main event. No, let me reword that. Some people say it's not a good match. I think anyone who says Hogan and Andre is not a good match, just go ahead and take that 8-foot stick out of your ass. Because, guys, there's a lot more to wrestling than just who can do the most flips and how technical it get. And like I said, I might have some sentimental because I think I've told you all the story, but this is how I got hooked on wrestling, was renting this VHS tape, and 100%, I was a kid, little kid, so I 100% believed everything they said. Like, Andre had never lost. I believed no one had ever knocked Andre off his feet. And finally, that irresistible force, immovable object.
That's the biggest line in hit wrestling history, right there.
It was, and I know Andre wasn't in the best shape and was hurting real bad, so he couldn't work. But he still, I mean, it's a great match if you take in everything. Don't just look at, well, this is how a match should be, and let's see how entertaining and awesome they are. When you build in that whole story and the build up to it too, I just played for my wife the other day when Hulk says yes. And y'all know what I'm talking about, where
the part where he rips the cross off of his chest.
Yes, and
man, you can kind of see the little blood mark right there from the rip.
Yes, and this is why Hogan was big. Not for any technical move he did, but just watch his performance, and it's Piper, right? Piper's asking him, "What do you say, Hogan?" And he just, that emotion, and he just screams, yes. I had to play that for my wife. Of course, she gave me her normal reaction of just looking at me and blinking as I'm telling her how awesome it is. I think here's something that I don't like, and one of the reasons I'm not big on his ratings. Meltzer gave it like a -4 stars. That's horrible. Now, since then, he's gone back and said he definitely shouldn't have given it that rating. But that besides, guys, I love WrestleMania 3. It got me hooked. I mean, a lot of good matches. I still think Savage Steamboat holds up with any match today. And then I love hearing, now that the business is more open, like I loved hearing Steamboat talk about this match with the step-by-step, and they had something like 200-something steps that Savage had to have him memorize and all this stuff. But I love it. Like I said, it's the reason I got into wrestling. So it's sentimental, I know, but I still hold it up there as my favorite ever.
All right, Nick, what you got? What's your worst and your best?
Well, Magic stole my worst, so no. So I'm just going to echo everything he said about the WrestleMania 11. So and I didn't really do my homework on the worst one because I love WrestleMania, guys. I mean, to me, it's not called the Super Bowl of wrestling for no reason. So I look forward to them. I can't really find another one that I would say would be the worst. But when it comes to the best, and you guys know I'm an attitude era guy, I need to go back and watch some of these classics that you guys are talking about. That's what I was just enjoying listening to you guys, discuss some of those older WrestleManias. But one that really, I guess, is my most memorable remembering is WrestleMania 14, I believe it is. And I believe that's what really got the Attitude Era, kind of kicked into gear, because that was the one, and I hope I got the number right on WrestleMania 14, that Stone Cold and Shawn Michaels was the main event, I believe.
Boston.
Yep.
And you had
Boston, Massachusetts.
Mike Tyson was in his exactly, and I mean that main event. I mean, God, how can you forget that main event with Mike Tyson in it? Shawn Michaels, he was past his prime, I guess you could say. I think he had already gotten injured. His back had been messed up before that pay-per-view, I believe they said. Still an amazing match. You had Triple H. I think he fought Owen Hart, if I remember correctly. I don't know if it was for any belt or not.
European belt.
You had European belt. There you go. So you had DX in their prime. You had, The Rock. He was fighting Ken Shamrock for probably the Intercontinental title, I think, which was Iranian's Rocky Maivia. You had Goldust. He was in there somewhere. Mark Miro. And I think it was a mixed tag match with him and Luna and Sable, I believe. You had the tag team championship match that was that the one that I think it had Cactus Jack and Chainsaw Charlie? Was that for the tag titles against the Road Dogg and Billy Gunn?
In the dumpster match.
Dumpster match.
Yeah, dumpster match. There you go. I was going to say some kind of
Terry Funk gets the worst. Terry Funk gets the worst bruise in wrestling history during that match.
Oh yeah.
Yes. Yeah, you guys, your guys' memory is a whole lot better than mine. So I'm just rattling off the top of my head. So you could probably go into detail on this pay-per-view a little bit better than I can. But I just remember, because that was back in the day when you actually had to rent them. You didn't have no network or anything. So I just remember a group of us getting together. That was my favorite memory when it comes to WrestleManias, and I'll let Gold take it from here. Well, yeah, I can't. You had the Undertaker and Kane in there. That was a big match on that card, I believe. So yeah. I can't leave that one off. Because that was the whole Pete Rose thing. Didn't Kane come out and tombstone Pete Rose or choke slam him or something?
Tombstoned him. First of 3. He did it 3 years in a row.
Yeah, exactly. I was going to say, I think that was the one that kicked that off.
You also had
that
LOD
would probably be my
back too. So.
Yeah, they was fighting. God, I can't remember who.
Yeah,
off the top of my head.
They were in the Battle Royal, and that was when they debuted the LOD on the shitter look.
Yep. Hey, don't be
Gold's famous ones.
LOD 2000, back when Sunny had her tits hanging out still. Yep.
Back when you wanted to see it still.
You're like, oh yeah, Sunny. And she was hot. Oh, Sunny. Anyway.
But I know Gold's going to drop some knowledge on us, so I don't want to hold his time up with my non-remembrance of that pay-per-view. But that I would say that would be my favorite, just my most memorable one anyway.
By the way, the LOD 2000 eliminated the new Midnight Express. Bodacious Barton, Bombastic Bob.
Oh, yeah.
Bombastic Bob.
And then, of course, we had the great Taka Michinoku on that card with the most racist theme ever, right? That's it.
Against Aguila, who would later become Papi Chulo. What a name.
Now remember, guys, there was a team called the Orient Express.
Yep. And then you had the artist formerly known as Goldust. He wasn't Goldust. He was the artist formerly known as Goldust. And you were correct, Nick. He was technically The Rock at this point. That's when he took over the nation. He beat the crap out of Farouk and took over. So.
Yep. That's right, yep.
And then, of course, we had Undertaker, obviously. That's great. All right, so I'm going to start with my worst. I have 2. I'm like Nate. I have a tie. I'm going to start with this B worst, and that's going to be WrestleMania 2. I mean, it was okay. Look, WrestleMania 1 was great, right? It was the first one, spectacle, famous people, Hogan, Piper, T, all that crap, right? WrestleMania 2, Vince decides, I'm going to hold these at 3 different arenas. I'm going to have one at the Nassau Coliseum, I'm going to have one at the Rosemont Horizon, and I'm going to have one at the Los Angeles Memorial Sports Arena. And I'm going to have like 4 matches per arena. So basically they'd have a match, and then they'd have to watch the Tron or the video or whatever to see what the other arena was doing, right? And you had a card that wasn't, and most of the matches were 8 minutes or less. You had the longest match was 11 minutes. Okay, 13 minutes. It was the tag belt match. But of course, one of the better matches on the card was Randy Savage versus George Steele. Right? Savage was Steele was after his honey. You know, everyone was always after Miss Elizabeth, so you had all that going on. I mean, we had such matches as Mr. T versus Roddy Piper in a boxing match. Right?
Which,
okay,
WrestleMania 2 is such a shit show. That Piper T match is if you're gonna watch WrestleMania from WrestleMania 1 to WrestleMania 35 from beginning to end, Piper T at WrestleMania 2 is definitely your fast forward option. That's fucking awful.
Well, what about the infamous Roddy Piper blackface during all this?
Oh, that was that was against Bad News Brown.
Yeah, that was at 6. That was
Lord.
at 6.
That was Bad News Brown, who was at one point, he wasn't Bad News Brown, but I'm sure you all know why they called him Bad News Brown, right? Andre the Giant had really bad diarrhea and did a sit down on top of him and ended up taking a shit on his chest.
That's definitely some Bad News Brown.
So it sounds like Bad Luck Brown.
If you get a chance, go look up on YouTube. Bam Bam Bigelow discusses Bad News Brown, and he's like laughing the whole interview. He's like, "Yeah, Andre had all these beers and all these pickles and sandwiches, and then he went out and wrestled Bad News Barrett. That was his name, Barrett, right? What was his original name?
Bad News Allen.
Bad News Allen. Thank you.
That's his real name
for some reason." And he's like, Andre does this sit-down splash from the ropes, right? Because, he couldn't move around that well, so he would use the ropes to sit down. And he sat down right on top of Allen's chest, and he took a massive shit. And Allen is under him like, get up! And Bam Bam was just dying. You got to watch the interview. Anyway, sorry. But, yeah, 2 was terrible. I mean, you had Corporal Kirshner against Nikolai Volkov, in a flag match that went 2 minutes. You had Moolah versus Velvet McIntyre back when Moolah was, if you all watched the history of wrestling and all that stuff, Moolah was a piece of trash back then, so she beat Velvet. You had Jake Roberts versus George Wells. You had Ricky Steamboat and Hercules. That was decent. You had Adrian Adonis versus Uncle Elmer.
And that match is one of my favorite botches in wrestling history because Uncle Elmer hits Adrian with a forearm, and then proceeds to fall on his big fat ass, and Jesse Ventura, being the pro that he is, calls it and says Elmer hit Adrian so hard it knocked him backwards as well. However, that was a botch, I promise you.
And then you had your main event, Hogan and Bundy. That was decent, right? But, all right, so 2 is my B, right? 2 is pretty shitty. It's a really bad WrestleMania that Vince just tried to stretch it out. Thank God he fixed it with 3, right? Thank God, right? Because if he continued...
Well, one more thing to say on that, Gold, is he charged everyone full price to watch 2/3 of the show on a Titantron.
Right. They had
what a
get
businessman.
One match and you watch the next. And then back then, you didn't have all that technology. So you're like, oh, I can't even see. Whatever, we'll just sit here.
Yay!
Like, oh my goodness, 3 minutes. Jake Roberts beat George Wells. Woo! It's like the fuck. But anyways, second WrestleMania 9. Lord help me. First of all, we all know how documented I am on how much I hated the fact that Yokozuna carried the belt in general. Okay, I was never a fan. In my humble opinion, that when Macho Man won that belt at WrestleMania 8, he should have carried it all the way to WrestleMania 9, and he should have had the main event against Bret Hart. That's what it should have been. Macho should have ran the company. He should have been the new face of the company. You were working Hogan out. So what do? You put Hogan in a shitty tag match with Brother Brudai, right? Brutus Beefcake, whatever you want to freaking call him. Then he has this really nasty black eye. There's a lot of speculation on how he got it. The only good match on that entire card, in my opinion, was Tatanka versus HBK. And it's like, really? That's our best match? Oh, and we had a second Doink. That was pretty cool, right? We had Gonzalez lose to Taker by disqualification because he chloroformed him. Terrible. Terrible. First of all, he was amazing in WCW, but then you bring him in and you give him this shitty gimmick and this ugly attire.
Well, I would watch what we're saying if we're saying he's amazing in WCW.
He was really amazing in WCW. Watch some of his old WCW stuff.
Oh,
I'm telling you to watch it. If you have or haven't, that's fine.
Well, sorry to bust it real quick.
All right, look. Compared to what he did in WWF, he was amazing. How's that?
Have you ever heard Jim Ross talking about working with him?
I've also heard them complain about Vader's gloves, but that's a whole other story. I agree.
Well,
yes, but he was okay. Look, he was way better in WCW. Is that a better terminology?
Well, no, I'm just talking about promos.
Oh no, I'm talking about his in-ring work. His promos have always been shit. It doesn't matter where he was. He needed a mouthpiece.
Mm-hmm.
But in WCW, he was over. The crowd popped. They enjoyed him. Whatever, right? Nonetheless, 9 had to be top to bottom one of the worst WrestleManias I've ever seen. They tried that whole outdoor stuff. The best part was, of course, Heenan coming in backwards. On the that was great, right? But the fact that then you have Yoko beat Bret, right? Then Hogan come back and win the belt in 22 seconds. Ridiculous.
Oh, let me tell you, this little Hulkamaniac loved it.
I bet you did. But that shouldn't have happened. What should have happened is if you were going to do it, it should have been Macho Man and Bret, main event. I think Macho should have won that year, culminating into their rematch in WrestleMania 10, where Bret wins the belt from Macho Man. That's my opinion, and I'm sticking to it. I feel like Macho Man was underutilized, and Vince felt he was too old and couldn't work anymore, so he puts him in shitty matches with people like Crush. That's a whole other ballgame.
God, was that match horrible.
Yeah, and so was what they did to Bam Bam, who was incredible in ECW. And then you put him in matches with like we were just talked about, the main event, and then you put him in a tag match against Doink and Dink. It's like, really?
But let's go back to a couple seconds ago when I talked about how Vince charged everyone full price, and what was Nate's comment?
What was Nate's comment? Repeat that.
He said he was what a businessman, or amazing businessman. And according to Bruce Pritchard, that is the only reason they had Hulk win the title, because he was on a short-term deal. He was going to be gone again quick, and they knew it. But they were doing an overseas tour or whatever, and they wanted Hogan to hold the title during that. All dark matches, nothing televised. But they just wanted to be able to put him on the marquee, whatever, as the champ.
Yeah, but they could have done so many things differently. They could have done the Macho Man stuff. Instead of having Hogan lose back at King of the Ring against Yoko again, where they snapshot a fireball flame into his eyeball from the camera, they could have had Bret beat Hogan cleanly, but Hogan didn't want to do that. He wanted to do this bullshit stuff. But anyways, 9 and 2 have to be probably some of the worst WrestleManias. They're up there with WrestleMania 15, but I can talk all day about how bad those 3 were.
Mr. David Gold, I have a proposition for you.
What's that, sir?
I think the first Asylum / We Can't Wrestle podcast, co-promoted podcast. It's going to have to be you and me watching together and debating WrestleMania 9.
Oh, you like 9.
I do. I do like 9.
And
I'm like Vince McMahon, I'm a good businessman. And I'm not going to go into why right now. We'll talk about it.
We'll watch it.
We'll talk about it. We'll talk
it.
about it in our watch-along. I love it.
I will agree
love
with
it.
you. We did have the introduction of Jim Ross. We did have some comical stuff with Bobby Heenan. We had a great Shawn Michaels.
And what better way to introduce Jim Ross and put him in a toga?
Right.
My God.
I guess you could say, oh, it's so bad it was good, but no, 9 was really bad. But
Good
anyway.
call, Nate Maxon. Thank you.
We'll definitely watch it together, and we can agree to disagree, because that's what's going to happen. You're going to go, oh, that was amazing, and imagine Hogan won the belt again.
And that is my favorite type of conversation, when two people that are both intelligent about the business can discuss it in a civil manner. It's going to be fun as shit. I love it.
Oh, yeah, and look, it had its moments, but 2 and 9 are probably... That's why 2 is the worst, 9 is the second worst.
We agree on 2.
Is the third.
We agree on 2. 2 is a dump in a diaper, definitely.
And then the third worst was 15, but that's a whole nother shit show.
Oh, man. Boys to Men?
I mean, the Boys to Men was good, but 15 was crap. But anyways, let's get into my favorite WrestleMania of all time. And this was a tough one. I had a couple ties in some ways, but I'm going to have to go at WrestleMania 17. It was the culmination of, and sort of the end of the Attitude Era, going more into the aggression, ruthless era, but 17 was just amazing top to bottom. I mean, your first match was Chris Jericho and William Regal. I mean, Regal is one of the most knowledgeable people in the business. And can put on a match with anybody. Him and Jericho for the IC belt, I thought that was very fitting. The tag team, 6-man tag team match, it was pretty good. I mean, you had the APA, you had Right to Censor. I didn't like the Right to Censor stuff. They were basically doing that to make fun of the censors. I get it. The hardcore match was underrated. You had Kane, Raven, and the Big Show. I thought it was very comical. It was all over the place, throwing each other through windshields and shit. And it was so mixed. It was like you had 2 giant monsters in Raven. You know, it's like...
No, it's fantastic.
It was a fantastic fucking match. Raven is just fantastic. I think he was misutilized, but he was great in WCW and ECW, obviously. Vince didn't like him too much. Whatever the case may be, he misutilized Raven. Then you had Eddie Guerrero versus Test. Guerrero was just amazing either way. Never was a big fan of Test. Except I did love his shit with Stephanie. What Triple H did to him was the funniest shit ever.
And
might be Test's best match.
Can I?
What's that?
Go ahead, Magic.
I said that might be Test's best match.
Other than the one versus Shane that I really enjoyed, but yes. And what were you going to say, Nate?
To interject, one of the highlights of the Eddie Guerrero Test match is Perry Saturn's hat. He has he has a fuzzy purple top hat on, and it's fun.
Yes.
Anyway.
What they did to Saturn, I mean, good God. But Kurt Angle, Chris Benoit, I know a lot of people don't want to talk about Benoit. I know what he did in his personal life was fucked up, but you can't take away his in-ring accolades. Great match versus Kurt Angle, amazing. You had a great storytelling where Ivory thought she even stood a chance against Chyna. I don't know about you, but I love the fact that Chyna destroyed her in 2 minutes. I thought it was fucking amazing.
Fantastic.
Shane McMahon versus Mr. McMahon in the street fight. I mean, Shane is just awesome to me in the stuff he does, where he does the death-defying shit and stuff. Him and Vince was just fitting. Then you have probably one of the greatest matches of all time, the Tables, Ladders, and Chairs match. That was just fucking amazing. Watching Jeff Hardy take a fucking spear hanging from the belts, I mean, that just highlighted my childhood. You know, it's like
yes.
Looking at his face, Edge hitting that spear to perfection. I would have liked to see Edge and Christian win it cleanly instead of Rhino climbing Christian up the ladder, but that's a whole other thing.
So not to keep butting in, David. That match is absolutely one of the best matches ever. And because I have watched it so many times, as you watch a match over and over and over again, you start noticing little things. And one of the little things I noticed about that match is kind of funny. There is a point in the match where Lita grabs Edge's foot, pulls him off the ladder. But the funniest thing about it is Jim Ross, in his commentary, says, and I quote, Lita just jerked Edge off. And then he realizes what he says, and then he throws in the ladder. But anyway,
Talk about some foreshadowing.
I find it extremely amusing that you kind of notice that. It's just like the person that made the Troy Aikman video, where he's like, he takes it in, he pulls it back out. He takes it in, he pulls it back out. And they just kept replaying it with his cum faces. But because for whatever reason, Troy Aikman makes like the best orgasm faces when he's announcing. I don't know why. But to continue, you had this silly ass gimmick battle royal, which was very perfect and fitting. When you got your Mean Gene commentary, your Bobby Heenan, right before his cancer really started kicking in, you got to hear Bobby Heenan on the make jokes and stuff. It was great. You had Undertaker and Triple H, which I didn't realize until I watched it again, that match was 18 minutes. Undertaker destroyed Triple H that entire match. It was fitting because, Taker was getting revenge and stuff like that, but I didn't realize that match went that long. I thought it was shorter because of how much he destroyed Triple H in that match, but that was a great match. And then, of course, the only problem I had was Stone Cold and The Rock. It was a great match. I was not a fan of the Stone Cold heel turn because I knew what happened later. At the time when it happened, I thought it was awesome. Had Stone Cold kind of continued being the way he was, but also a heel, but then destroying people, I thought it would have been good. But I didn't like what they did with it leading into the WCW stuff. I thought they ruined Austin's character. They made him look like a weak piece of crap. I never liked that whole storyline with it, but I think it was fitting that Austin made a comment 2 weeks prior to that match and said, I will do anything it takes to keep my belt. And he sold his soul to the devil to keep his belt.
Definitely.
And it made The Rock look super fucking strong, and it put him out to go film his movies, right? So that was the way to get The Rock out for a few months to go film. I think it was the Scorpion King at the time he was filming, but he was out. And then, so Stone Cold, it made The Rock look super fucking strong. Like, it took like 20 chair shots for Austin to pin this guy, right? And he sold his soul to the devil. So, to me, top to bottom, other than the pre-show match, but it's a good thing they put it on Sunday Night Heat. I don't know what the fuck they were thinking with this whole X Factor stuff, but anyways. The whole show, top to bottom, was amazing. I don't have any complaints with it at all. You sprinkled in some old guys in there for me with that gimmick royal. That's my favorite WrestleMania.
So let me just... I also think it's an amazing WrestleMania. But let's just revisit a couple things you said. You said the 6-man tag was great. I disagree there. I thought that's pretty per-donkey match at best. But other than that, the thing that I didn't like with this was just in booking, and it's probably not their fault because they didn't know now. But I still, to this day, even with how amazing Stone Cold and Rock was, the TLC match we all know stole the show. And wow, what a change of pace to have that match, and then the gimmick battle royal next. The gimmick battle royal was horrible. If Bobby the Brain's not on commentary, it's a complete loss. But
it was so bad, it was good though. That was the point.
Heenan saves it. The only reason he wins it is because he can't get over the ropes. I mean, it was bad, but Bobby the Brain's still amazing, best performer ever in my opinion. But that, and then the 6-man tag, I disagree with you. But other than that, it was a great WrestleMania.
I think it was fitting that they had the Iron Sheik win the Battle Royal, but then Slaughter come in and attack him after. I thought that was pretty cool. I mean, it was so bad it was good. It reminded you, it was like a shot at you, like, did you like 80s wrestling? Well, these are the gimmicks we had. You know what I mean? It was like, and you had Earthquake come out and you're like, oh, Earthquake, you know, and then like the fans that were just watching then weren't like popping because they're like, who the fuck are these guys? You know what I mean?
Right.
And we're at home like, Earthquake! Oh my God! Oh, look, it's the Repo Man. God, he was so bad. You know, this when you watch it, it's like so bad it's good. And then Bobby Heenan's like, he repoed his own car. You know, it was great.
Right.
So,
or how about what's his name who's in it? One Man Gang, because he'd lost so much weight he couldn't fit in the Akeem stuff anymore.
It would have been great if he came out twice, though. Like if he came back out as Akeem. But also, I'm surprised Nate didn't point this out since he likes to point out the small pervy stuff too. I'm surprised he didn't point out the fact that earlier in the show, Heenan and Mean Gene were kind of attacked by Moolah and Mae Young backstage.
No. That's at 20. That's at 20.
Was that 20?
Yeah, that's not
that wasn't
17.
17?
No,
Okay,
that's at 20. Because that's one of my favorite Bobby Heenan lines. When Mae's dragging him back into the room, he's like, I haven't been well. Oh, God. Bobby.
Okay, I thought that was 17 for some reason because they were all there too. But
no,
okay,
yeah, that was 20 when Coachman's trying to look for Undertaker because he's coming back to face Kane.
Oh yeah, that's right.
And,
I gotta tell you, 20 was probably up there in my top 3 as well.
Yeah, me too. And like I'm talking about 8 and 19, and 20 is definitely one of the best Manias ever. You know, the HBK Triple H Voldemort main event is amazing. He whose name we will not mention. And I mean, 20 is amazing too. We could do a 4-hour episode on Manias. But
tell me you didn't get an immediate erection when Paul Bearer went,
oh, yeah. Oh, that was fucking great. And then he came out.
I know, I was like, boing.
Unfortunately,
what?
And unfortunately, he came out looking like a double-wide trailer. But we know...
Yes.
Backstory to that. He was 100 pounds heavier than that.
Jesus.
Vince paid to get him the surgery, to get him to come to WrestleMania.
Man. Bearer of the Giant.
Percy Pringle did an interview.
It was sad.
Yeah, Percy Pringle did an interview and said Vince saved his life because he had called him and said, hey, do you want to come back and be the Taker's manager? Because he was his manager for like another 8 months before he put him in that glass enclosure and then hit him with the cement to get rid of him, to write him off.
Mm-hmm.
Mm-hmm.
And he told Vince, I can barely walk down the aisle. I can barely walk. So Vince had him get I don't know if he got the gastric or if he got the lap band, but he got the surgery. So he was about 100 pounds lighter at that WrestleMania. Because he ended up losing way more weight than that.
And that's another reason.
He got huge.
That's another reason why, even though 29 is my least favorite Mania, I wanted to mention the CM Punk Undertaker match because I enjoy the angle, and a sentimental thing for me about that whole Mania, even though it's my least favorite, the reason the Undertaker CM Punk match, it means a lot to me. You know, you come back to personal things in your life. My wife is not a huge wrestling fan, but she loves Taker. She loves Kane. And we actually, Indianapolis, Indiana, in 2013, we actually went to the Monday Night Raw. We were live at the Monday Night Raw the week that Paul Bearer passed away. So we were at the Paul Bearer Memorial Raw, and it was very honestly it was sad because it was the Paul Bearer, you know, he had just passed away, but it was cool for my wife because it was very Undertaker and Kane heavy.
Mm-hmm.
And it was
it
was that's my best memory of that WrestleMania time, and that's why I say 29 is my least favorite, but that CM Punk Taker situation is near and dear to my heart. And you know, R.I.P. Paul Bearer.
Yeah, and just, the fact that we just came out of, probably, in my opinion, one of the best Survivor Series in a long time. You had so much going. I mean, the whole Shane and Kane storyline, the Vince Taker, and then Kane buries him alive. I mean, the only thing that 20 had that was extremely bad was, of course, the Goldberg and Brock Lesnar stuff. But that match could have been so much more if everyone didn't know they were both leaving the company. I mean, they were booed as soon as they got out there, and they tried to throw Austin in the match to try to save it. But that didn't even do any good. But other than that, I mean, the 20 was probably very underrated, but very good. And then someone made a good point that. Correct me if I'm wrong. I think it was 20. That was one of the first best women's matches they had. Wasn't that Trish and Molly that year?
20.
Molly Holly.
No, 20 was
20.
20 was wasn't 20 when Molly got her head shaved?
No, that wasn't 20. I think 20 was Trish and Molly. That was when Molly won the belt, wasn't it? Or was that 17? No, that wasn't 17. China beat Ivory at 17. Was it 18? Let me look.
Yeah, it was Molly versus Victoria, hair versus title match. That's where she lost her hair.
So Trish versus Molly was which WrestleMania?
That
was that?
Damn.
Yeah, for some reason I can't.
And it's
that
funny.
Was 19. That was
Yeah,
19.
it's funny you say that because there was also Tori Wilson and Sable versus Keebler and Miss Jackie in a Playboy evening gown match.
Okay, so it was 19. It was 19. It was Trish, and 19 was a really good WrestleMania too.
Yes.
But Trish and Molly was probably one of the best women matches they had for a long time. When Molly finally beat Trish and won that belt from her idol. Great fucking match. But no, I mean the whole Paul Bearer. I mean, to me, I hated Undertaker as the badass. I hated every moment of it.
Mm-hmm.
Now, did I enjoy him beating the living hell out of Ric Flair at WrestleMania 18? Absolutely. But when he came back and then Kane's in the ring like, "You're not real. You're not real."
God,
that was
great.
The storytelling.
It's amazing.
Was just, and then Taker's just standing there, and then like Kane reaches his hands out to see if he's really there. That was just freaking amazing. And then the main event, no one wants to talk about it, but hey, I mean, no one knew back then what was going to happen, but him and Guerrero in the ring with both belts, that was kind of like hey, Vince finally let some WCW guys over. You know what I mean?
Yeah.
So, they were the first defectors, by the way, as well. They came over when they didn't like when Sullivan was doing the booking. So.
Yeah. 20 is definitely an amazing sleeper mania because WWE has kind of erased it from its history.
Of course.
Which is sad. I mean, Benoit was obviously as a person a monster, but and publicly he did the worst of the worst, but I mean a lot of our heroes turn out to be monsters. You know what I mean?
Well, think of it this way, too. If you like a movie with an actor, and in real life that actor does something hideous, you don't automatically hate that movie because of it.
Absolutely.
And remember, guys, these wrestlers, even though they can have the same name or whatever, even though they can be very similar, they are still characters.
And also keep in mind, when they studied Benoit's brain, he had CTE, which was pretty bad, and they said he had the brain of a 96-year-old with Alzheimer's.
Mm-hmm.
So the bumps that he took and what he did is kind of the reason we have the wrestling we have today. Where if they get a concussion, they're out. You're not going out there.
Well, I don't want to get into the Chris Benoit thing.
But the point is that really bad person. That's true, but the match itself wasn't just him. It was also HBK and Triple H, and it was probably one of the best triple threat matches until WrestleMania 30 rolled around. So
definitely one of the best ever.
Albeit. WrestleMania 30 was up there too, but it was, it was more Orton and Batista. So, but nonetheless. Well, all right, guys. Well, we're gonna go ahead and wrap this thing up here. Do you have any final thoughts for us, Nick?
Guys, I'm just going to be honest with you. I could sit and listen to y'all talk all night. I don't know about the listeners, but the knowledge that you guys are dropping, I can guarantee you one thing. I'm going to be watching some WrestleManias come tomorrow. Y'all got me intrigued on a lot of them, and I'll be honest with you. Like I said, I've just enjoyed sitting back listening to y'all. I wish I could chime in a little bit better than what I do, but I think y'all do a wonderful job. If anybody doesn't like listening to y'all, I mean, they don't like wrestling because y'all drop some knowledge that amazes me every time I listen. So amazing job to you guys. Round of applause on y'all's side.
Any final thoughts, Magic?
Guys, amazing show once again. I love the debates. I love the interaction. I think it's amazing that you can get 3 or 4 guys like us, and it's funny how some things we all are 100% agree on, and then the next thing we can 100% disagree on, and not necessarily any of us are right or wrong in that. So I love it. I think that's probably the best part about being a wrestling fan, and I know we all take our wrestling serious. But guys, remember, it's entertainment, and this is what this is, and I love it. I love going over old WrestleManias. Nick was just talking about, like, hey, I want to go back and watch some. I would say to anyone, any wrestling fan, every once in a while, go start at WrestleMania 1, and it's a long time, I know, but work your way through them. Watch, maybe an hour a day, do whatever you can. To me, just watching from the beginning and the end, even though the production changes, the moves even change a little, the style of matches change, they become bigger, they be more special effects, everything. The thing that always sticks the same, at least in my opinion, is the guys who are over the most is the guys who are telling stories, who have a little bit of everything. Wrestling is very important, don't get me wrong. But if you go back in history of wrestling, the guys who are always the biggest names, biggest draws, little or hardly ever does it have to do with their wrestling. And I'm talking about nuts and bolts of it. And that's what, to me at least, makes wrestling amazing. But guys, I just want to say to all our listeners, thank y'all for hanging out with us once again. I appreciate everyone, all our listeners, all our members. Thank you, Nick. Thank you, Gold. Thank you, Nate. Enjoyed it. And guys, as always, y'all have a great week.
And if you're going to go back and watch the WrestleManias, Nick, do yourself a favor and skip 2, 9, and 21.
Watch 9.
15.
Watch 9.
Don't skip them, Nick. Don't skip them.
Whether I'll be able to chime in or not, but whenever y'all do this watch along, I'm definitely going to have to watch along. I may not be able to chime in a lot, but I also don't want this episode to. I got to give a shout out because I'd probably get scolded if I didn't, to my wife that Valentine's Day just passed, and she surprised me with an amazing, hard to find Peyton Royce Elite figure. So I got to give a shout out to my wonderful wife on that for an amazing Valentine's Day gift.
That
and I
is
hope you guys,
right there.
definitely a surprise. And
sorry.
And yeah. But so I want to give her a shout out, and I hope you guys also had an amazing Valentine's. However you celebrated it. So.
Well, I don't know. I can't speak for Magic, but I got myself some Cracker Barrel and went to bed. So great Valentine.
Cracker Barrel.
Yeah, fried chicken, mac and cheese, and apple strudel. What's that?
As long as you had a good time doing it.
Sat in my underwear and watched WrestleMania 9. Terrible Valentine. Damn it, WrestleMania 9. If you love watching The Undertaker get knocked out with chloroform, watch it. Great fucking memory. Oh, we will definitely do that, Nate. We will sit and watch 9 and debate on how good or bad it was. That's the fun part about watching 9. Even though it's really shitty, I'll still watch it. I think Macho Man was also on commentary for 9 as well. Why Vince? Why? He had such a great fucking... Anyway. All right, ladies and gentlemen, we thank you all for listening and dealing with us once again. Whether you're listening to us on the road, whether you're cleaning up your wrestle rooms like I tried to do earlier today, knocking over hundreds of boxes, whether you're eating a nice hot meal, whether you're sitting with your loved ones and listening to us, we appreciate you bringing us into your homes, and we look forward to speaking to you again next week.